Hello, I'm Paul Sprizzi. I'm the programming director of the Mammoth Film Festival, and I'm so happy to have our filmmakers here with us tonight for our shorts. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So glad to have you here. Hello, I'm Paul Sprizzi. I'm the programming director of the Mammoth Film Festival, and I'm so happy to have our filmmakers here with us tonight for our shorts. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So glad to have you here. Hello, I'm Paul Sprizzi. I'm the programming director of the Mammoth Film Festival, and I'm so happy to have our filmmakers here with us tonight for our shorts. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So glad to have you here. Hello, I'm Paul Sprizzi. I'm the programming director. Was that you, Ethan?
No.
Is it me?
It's definitely not me.
Thanks for joining us. Have you here.
No.
Is it safe? Oops. Okay, let's try this again. So welcome, everyone. As I mentioned, I'm Paul Sprizzi, the director of programming. I'm so scared it's going to start up again. And we're here with our short filmmakers. And so let's start talking to everyone. Well, let's introduce everyone. So we have Andrea Rosen is here from the Rain Poncho. We got Szu-Wei Chen from Last Day. Dani Wieder from Cool for 5 Seconds. Ricardo Garcia Nateras from ASALTO, CHIDO. We've got Angela Stempel from Urges and Ethan Mermelstein from Melancholy Hunters too. Cool. So let's talk to you first, Ethan. Tell us a little bit how did you get the idea for this short?
Okay, first, I do think that was me. After, because my Aventive was not muted, so I'm sorry for enjoying watching it and laughing, and then it was my fault. I'm sorry.
I've been doing that for days myself, so I'm glad it wasn't me this time.
Okay. So yeah, it was a movie that I thought of because I was sad but not depressed, and I didn't know like where that was located in my body and spirit. So I went back to my parents' house in real life with my real life cousin, who is really like that. And we made that movie, and it was like, obviously it's a kind of a silly movie, but it did a lot for me psychically. So I was very grateful to have made it.
So it was a documentary in a sense?
Yeah, I mean, it really, like, we were being ourselves. I feel weird calling it a documentary, but because there was a construct, but it was, my cousin didn't like learn lines or anything, and I just wrote some basic threads of scenes, but that was it.
Yeah, it's so funny and clever. Is this typical of the kind of work you do?
Kind of. I actually just shot another film at my parents' place. I in my sister's room right now. I've been at my parents' place for a lot of the pandemic, and we made a kind of a docu-fiction hybrid project that I'm cutting together, and I actually just wrote a more scripted version of a sequel for Melancholy Hunters 2 called The Loneliness Cure. And we're applying for a grant through the Sloan Foundation because there's a neuropsych element to it. So I wrote a short and then also a feature. But my cousin is 2 years older and has gone through puberty, so I don't know how that movie is gonna work, but wish I could have frozen him.
Got any younger cousins, or that's
He has siblings. Maybe I should swap him with one of his siblings. But he's really an enigma. He's amazing. He's a very unique, special kid.
Yeah, how did you conceptualize having him be part of the film?
I mean, he's just kind of the opposite of who I was at his age. He's just so comfortable and cool and like sports, and I was not any of those things. And he's just a natural. He's really a very charismatic person. I made another film starring my grandmother previously, who also, like, luckily is very natural on camera. So I feel like as far as my family goes, I'm going down the line of casting family members.
Cool, cool. Well, thanks so much for sharing it with us.
Thank you, and thanks for pivoting to the digital festival. This is really nice, and this was a great block. So congratulations to everybody.
Thank you, thank you. We had no choice, but it seems to be working out okay at least.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Angela urges. I've seen this is. I can say this is kind of your aesthetic. I've seen some of your other work, and it's so gorgeous. And but somehow it's strangely not explicitly sexual, or not exactly. It's kind of just like a little to the left of sexual. Like how did you come up with that whole idea?
I think initially I wanted to, first of all, thank you so much for having the film and the festival and for making it happen, virtually as well with all the conflict this year. I don't know. At first I wanted to make a different film, actually, a much longer project, but that was about exploring the idea of getting what you want, and how a character, what would happen, I guess, if you could just imagine what you want and then just get it, and how that would affect you. And then I just thought, oh my gosh, it would be just so nice to just indulge in anything that you like, and sensation seems like such a big part of indulgence. And so I decided, because I had this 2-minute limitation on the film, that it needed to be 2 minutes because of the production company request. I was just I'm just going to focus on that one feeling of indulging in getting what you want. And it just was I like the feeling of things. Let's just make it completely sensational or sensory. And so, yeah, it's that balance between sensory and sexual, where I'm not really saying anything explicit, but in a sense you're just getting the physical experience of pleasure, which is kind of what I wanted with it.
Yeah. And I love the whole voice performance and the way it was treated. How did that all come together?
The sound design was amazing. I had met before the composers, because they'd worked on a couple other short films that I really liked, and we kind of worked together to a sexy track at first, as a scratch track for coming up with the tone of it, as far as the music. And then I really wanted the voice to just kind of double down on what was happening and kind of repeat what was and so I just kind of typed up a really silly email where this is what the words should be. And they and the tone that I wanted the voice to have, just a deep, it lives in my gut, feeling. And they just found a voice actor who, I guess they affected their voice to make it sound that way. But yeah, I think the sound is incredible. I really think they did an amazing job.
Wow. So you kind of had the experience of the film's describing, of just wanting something and it just came to you.
Yeah, I think I think there was just something about, because the film is so sensory and I'd seen their work, they just have a really, I don't know, sound is so sensual as well. And so it's easy to make sound that's pleasurable. And then because there was just that kind of silliness element to the performance and just like what the scenes were. It just fit right in for the voices and the things that they were saying to be, you know, just doubling down on the over the topness of it. But yeah, I lucked out.
Yeah. Well, great work.
Thank
you.
you.
It's a pleasure to see it again and to chat with you.
Thanks for screening it.
Yeah. So it looks like the Ricardo, Garcia, Nateras, and you have a collaborator there with you?
Yeah, hi. First of all, thank you. It's a pleasure for us to be here. Here is Santiago, who is helping me with English because I'm not speaking very well, but I do my best.
Oh, great. Hi, Santiago. Thanks for helping. Was this autobiographical at all in terms of raising money for a film?
Yeah, born from my frustration that comes with making a film, you know, rather all the obstacles that come with making one, and starting from getting the funds from this urge, I came up with the idea for a short that I will be able to film in one day with a small crew and a small budget, obviously. The urge to tell a story took me over. And then I realized that the story was right in front of me. You know, I want to do a film. Okay,
let's make two guys make a robbery.
Yeah.
And I want to tell the story of my own obstacles, you know, with a film.
I just want to add the small caveat right now that you asked if it was biographical. Ricardo in no way made a crime.
Not yet.
No crimes were committed during the filming of these shorts.
That's great. And you're in Mexico City?
Yeah.
In Mexico City, cool. And I have to ask you about the kiss because it's so interesting how the policeman's reaction. It's like you're not really sure if he. Why he walks away, but it makes sense, but it's sort of not explained. How did you think about that?
Bueno, primero fui construyendo todos los chistes, sobre todo acerca de temblor. ¿Te quieres verlo contando?
First in the process he made all the jokes, especially around the earthquake.
Porque en México tiembla mucho.
Since in Mexico there are a lot of earthquakes all the time.
Y bueno, entonces hicimos un crescendo y de repente.
And from there we decided to make like these huge moments.
En la disyuntiva de bueno, ¿qué tiene que pasar? Algo tiene que pasar, algo fuerte.
And he knew something big had to happen. There had to be this huge moment.
Lo obvio es que llegue el policía, pero bueno, al final son dos dudes, son dos pendejos, los tontos.
The obvious answer was that there would be a policeman there, but I mean, at the end of the day, they're two dumb guys, right? They're two stupid guys just standing there.
Y son buenas personas.
And at the end of the day, they're kind of good people, right?
Y la forma de zafarse, bueno, fue un beso.
And, well, how do you get out of that situation? Well, you give a kiss to the policeman, right?
Cosa curiosa, el policía nunca había besado a un hombre y se acercó conmigo. Y me dijo,
and the fun thing here was that the actor actually had never kissed a man before, so he kind of had a struggle there.
Bueno, siempre hay una primera vez, ¿no?
There's always a first time for everything, so it just had to happen.
Y la pistola fue una reacción natural. Yo nunca le pedí que se...
And actually, the gun was a bit of a natural reaction. He never asked the policeman to take the gun. It was just natural reaction for the actor.
Oh, nice. Cool. So, can you tell us a little bit about your actors? Are really great comic actors. Can you tell us a little bit about them? Are they friends of yours, or did you cast them?
Algo muy padre que pasó con el proyecto fue que desde la escritura, desde que empezamos a pasar el guión, todo el mundo estaba fascinado.
Something that was really cool about the project was that when we got around to giving people the script, everyone wanted to participate. Everyone wanted to be part of it.
Y David, André, el que maneja, bueno, es una eminencia en teatro, tiene mucha fama. Y bueno, estuvo fascinado de participar en la historia, aceptaron de inmediato, ¿no? También Fernando, que actualmente está en series creo que estuvo en Narcos.
And David, the driver, actually, he is a bit of a big deal here in the theater scene. So as soon as he saw the project, he just wanted to collaborate, and we were excited to have him. And also
Jose.
Jose, he's also kind of a big deal. He's been in a number of Netflix series, and he also just wanted to be part of it. So we got really lucky in the cast.
Sí, como que te das cuenta de que tienes un gran guión cuando todo empieza a fluir, con toda la gente empieza a colaborar. Y bueno, el fotógrafo también ha tenido una gran carrera de largometrajes, ¿no? Santiago Sánchez.
You can just tell that you have a great project when people are just begging you to collaborate. And our photographer, Santiago Sanchez, he was, just a godsend. He worked amazingly with everyone.
Yeah, it was so beautifully shot. Yeah. So well, cool. Well, thanks so much for being with us and chatting about your film. And, I'm gonna move it over to Andrea Rosen. So you must be bi-coastal because that was shot in New York, yeah?
It was shot in New York, and I'm from New York City, and my mom still lives there. And I moved to Los Angeles about 8 years ago, and I mean, I just miss New York, and like all of my stories really take place in New York in my mind. And like all of those people who worked on the film and who were in the film were based in New York. So for me, it was, just the greatest excuse to go home and work with like all my friends from New York. So I'm not technically bi-coastal, no, especially now, but like my mom still lives there, and I go back, I have to like make an excuse to go back. It's like a work excuse. So yeah, I try to go back.
Yeah. I love your whole style. It's almost like Altman, where everyone's kind of talking over each other. And was that difficult to orchestrate? Like, did you workshop the script a lot?
I didn't really workshop the script. I mean, I wrote it, and I had the cast in mind when I was writing it. So I knew kind of their natural voices already. And I went through a couple drafts and showed it to a couple people before we shot it. But with actors on set, we really pretty much stuck to the script. But it was really helpful because I was writing for those specific people. Right.
And so were you inspired by like friends of yours? Or you don't have teenage daughters, right?
I don't have teenage daughters, and I don't have a wife. But I ran into a really old friend of mine. I think I said this on the previous one, but I'll just say it again. I ran into a friend of mine when I was at Sundance because I'm an actor and I was in somebody's short, and he's a DP, and he said to me, like, if you write something, then I'll shoot it. And so I sort of, I reverse engineered it basically. I was like, oh, I got to write something because Graham is going to shoot it. And then I just thought of the people in my life and like basically their talents, and like the two girls who are in my short are my best friend's daughters. And one of them is like a hip hop dancer. And, for years I've been getting text messages of videos of her dancing. And for some reason, like, I love watching people dance so much, especially like teenagers. I just think it's the best. And I was like, she's got to be dancing in it. Like, I just knew the pieces that had to be there. And I kind of put it together from that. My friend Liz, who plays my wife, she's not a therapist, but like, she's kind of like my friend therapist, like she's the person who I call. And like, when I'm super upset, like she's the best person to talk to, but I can feel her being like really upset also. So I borrowed that from her personality, that she's like overly empathic sometimes. So I sort of put the elements together in like not a linear way.
Right. And so and I take it you're not a hairdresser in spite of the smooth moves we saw.
I'm not a hairdresser, but I have been cutting my kids' hair. They've never been to a barber. I just I can do it. I just cut my husband's hair. I gave him a great haircut. Like, I'm not trained, but I can definitely do it.
I know, same.
But like, I just love like that feeling of being stuck in a haircutter's chair and they're just talking and you can't leave and you have to be polite and it's so weird, and 90% of the time, like, it's stuff you don't want to hear. And I just really wanted the characters to be annoying and flawed and not cool, because I don't think that's interesting, you know, to be those things for a movie that much. And I think it's really funny when people are failing.
Yes. Cool. Well, thanks for chatting with us about your film.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. What an honor.
Yeah, and we have another one of your films in the festival too. So
I know, it's amazing. Thank you.
Look out for that one too. We've got lots of Rosen in the house. So cool. Well, let's talk to Dani. Cool for 5 seconds.
Hi.
So hi. So good to see you after chatting with you.
Thank you for having us be a part of this week. My whole team, we're all thrilled.
Yeah. So so this piece was written for live theater, right? Yeah.
It's written by a playwright named Calamity West, who is a Chicago-based writer. She's had like over 10 world premieres in Chicago. She's amazing, and I had always been like a fan of hers, and I always tried to read her writing that was available. So this play, she actually posted it on a website called New Play Exchange, which is a place you can go to like find new plays by unpublished or like unperformed plays by playwrights. And I read this play and I was so captivated by, similar to what Andrea was saying, like how like complex and nuanced these characters were and how they weren't one thing. And then also I thought she did such a good job of showing this kind of experience of like when people kind of defy your expectations or when they're not exactly how you remembered them, and then the kind of mental gymnastics that you have to do to like recalibrate in that moment. And I thought this was like such a great, it was, it's like a real-time encounter, and these women are trying to kind of figure each other out in real time, like sitting at this table. So I was very struck by it, and I ended up directing it in 2017 for a evening of short plays. And then I loved working on it so much, but I found that like the dynamics of theater, actually didn't like serve this piece as well as I thought it would. And because it's so, it's like when in theater, you really have kind of like movement and space as your tools. And this piece kind of resists both of those things. And with film, I felt like it opened up a lot of storytelling opportunities with the addition of the camera. So yeah, it's a very different piece than it was when it was a play. But I think that film actually serves the script really nicely. The actors, Mary Tilden and Catherine Bourne-Taylor, are the same actors from when we did it as a play. So they came with me on this journey.
That's so interesting because it definitely feels like a play, like in the way it's written, but at the same time that makes so much sense that it wouldn't work as well on stage. And so I guess how did you think about what intentions did you bring to it in terms of opening it up into a film rather than a play?
Well, so this is actually my first film, and I was so excited by this like added tool of the camera because I really got to think of it as a third character, how I wanted people to be observing this conversation. And I decided to tell the story from the point of view of Colleen, the redheaded character, Catherine's character. And basically like that character has a lot of anxiety, a lot of body dysmorphia. So at the beginning, the scenes are very open. There's a lot of like external sound. There's a lot of like background information, flashing lights, those kinds of things. And then as she starts to kind of like dial in on her sister and they become more and more connected, the rest of the world falls away. The shots get closer and closer. We start to kind of feel there's kind of like a lack of environment toward the middle of the film. And then we kind of like released back out to a new normal. So it was super exciting to get to play with this, like the dynamics of the frame, in addition to like the pacing of the dialogue and those kinds of things. It was such an added layer for me, and it was really cool to explore.
Yeah, really, definitely felt that dynamic. Can you tell us a little bit about your actresses?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty talented. Yeah, Mary and Catherine have known each other long before I knew either of them. They are actually like childhood friends, so they have kind of like a sisterly vibe already. They're very close. So that was Mary Tilden. So that was really lucky. You know, I felt like they had a natural rapport. And actually I didn't cast them. I didn't choose their characters. They chose them themselves. So they naturally gravitated toward these kind of like poles. And then the Mary and Catherine, both of their backgrounds are in theater. So we were all very excited to like rehearse a lot for this. And we like worked together very closely for like several, well, we rehearsed for the play, and then we rehearsed for the film, for the shoot, for like at least a month. So that was really cool to have actors that were so game to really explore this text, because it is, while the language is simple, the text is like pretty complicated, I think, or there's like many possibilities there. So I felt very blessed to be working with people who were so committed.
Yeah, so we just got a comment in the chat. I think this is from Shira, the festival director. She says, "I'm a huge fan of Dani." So you have a big fan.
Thank you.
Yeah. So okay. Well, cool. Thanks for
Thank you for having us.
telling us about the film. Yeah, for sure. And let's move on to, how do you pronounce? Is it Szu-Wei Chen?
Yeah, Szu-Wei.
Szu-Wei. So so nice to meet you. So last day, so I guess the obvious thing that I, of course, have to ask you about is the doing one take. Like how many takes did you end up doing? What were the challenges of doing the single take?
Yeah, thanks for having me. And first of all, and for the one take shot, I took like 10 takes, and 3 of them I failed. So I only have 7 takes to use. And this one is the last take.
The last one.
Yeah, the last one. And I'm very happy about it, because I did some change for the final takes, and it works very well, like better than what I imagined. So, and I choose this one. And it's always a risk to shoot like a single take, because you have to be very brave on set, and you will be afraid of making any mistake, because you make one mistake and all the film will be ruined. So and I think at the end of the day, you just want to give it a try and trust yourself, trust your guts, and and it also shows who you are as a director. You'll be like, yeah, I can do this. And so I think it's a challenge, but I enjoy after that, and I watched a couple of times and I was like, wow, yeah, I did it.
You did, for sure.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So what changes did you make for the last take?
Like I think it's like some angle stuff. Oh, I think it's when I pan the camera to the windows and my characters come inside, and at first I want to follow it to the crows, but I feel weird because the camera goes down, and I just change a little things. And and also the blocking downstairs, it's hard to control because it's on the street and there's people walking by and some bus pass by and some kids just go down the bus, and I was like, no, it's too much. Yeah.
So was it all shot in one day? Did you do the whole thing in one day?
Yeah, I did the whole thing in one day, and because I find this warehouse, it's very expensive to find a place in Chinatown, and this warehouse was like 2 floors, and I was like, wow, this is the place I can do this kind of shot, because it's very hard to see like Chinatown outside, and you walk downstairs and you can see the street and everything. and to condense in this script. So yeah, and yeah, I shot in one day, and it actually finished like faster than I thought.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's very impressive that you shot it yourself too. That's amazing.
Oh no, I have a DP. He fly from Taiwan, and yeah, and helped me there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you about the, I guess the way that cinematography worked with the production design, because just every frame is so gorgeous. And how did you design the space?
Yes. So originally, so actually behind the camera, there is like only empty wall. So the space is huge, like very huge. So I have to avoid a lot of angles. So I just draw everything on the paper and find out what works with the blocking and the actors to avoid the empty wall. And yeah, and my DP did a very well job. He just catch the angles himself most of the time. He kind of know what I want. Yeah, and for the production design, we only set for the part you saw on the screen, just that part, and the rest of all it's all empty. So I have to follow the characters all the time to avoid the empty wall. But the space is huge, so it's great. Like we can stay far away. So we use like 50, I think, like long lenses to catch it.
Cool.
Yeah.
You tell us a little bit about your actors, about who they are, and actually what it was like working with them. I think one of the really interesting things is it is such an unusual portrayal of a sex worker, because she doesn't seem like hardened, or she just seems like pretty different from what we're used to seeing in the movies.
Yeah, because originally in my mind, because I wrote on the script, I was like, she was smoking and just more like stronger woman than what I just want her to be like very strong and portrayed, her details and everything. And this actor, she's my friend's friend, so she's also an actress. Yeah. But when I saw her for the first time, I was like, wow, she's the character. She has all her face expression, all the details. It's what I really want. And on set, I just talked to her about, because I read a lot of articles about the prostitution in Chinatown and also happening around the world. I also watched some movies like in Hong Kong, and they have some movie portrayed about sex worker. So I just talked to her like the details, like sometimes they wash too much, they will, because they take shower too much and the skin will like drop. And so yeah, I studied a lot of these details and tell to her, and she gets it very fast, I think. So yeah, she gets what I want. And also I try to make her feel very tired. Like, yeah, because she was travel the day before. And then I just like, yeah, just feel sleepy, it's fine. Just, I will remind you everything, but you just don't think too much and get into it. And yeah, and I like all her gesture is so beautiful. Yeah, she's a wonderful actor. And her voice is also amazing.
Yeah. She's gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your actor?
Oh, my actor. He's an actor in New York, and yeah, and I found him on casting, I think. Yeah, and it's also very hard to find like Asian actor in New York, to be honest. Like, and also speak Mandarin. So and also so it's, and I'm very lucky I found these two actors. Yeah, so at first I'm very scared of shooting this project actually, but with these two actors, I was like, yes, I have to do it. They're so great, and their time worked very well together, and they just met for the first time actually on set. So I like the isolated energy between them, and it's kind of connect to each other, but not really. So yeah, that chemistry worked very well, I think.
Cool. Well, beautiful work.
Yeah, thank you.
To have it in the festival and to meet you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This festival is amazing. I watched so many great films.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's just go through, and I'd just like to find out what everyone else is up to, what your next projects are. see. Ethan, you mentioned you're going to do. You kind of mentioned your next project, right? Yeah. Do you have anything?
I'm writing a sequel to Melancholy Hundreds 2, which is called The Loneliness Cure. I also just shot a short doc with my family that I'm cutting together. But beyond that, I'm curious what everybody else is experiencing. It's just so strange to start something new right now, and just figure out like what matters, and also if it's like logistically, if it's something contemporary, like how are people going to be living like with masks and everything else going on in the world. So yeah, I'd be really curious to hear what everybody else is working on.
Yeah. How about you, Angela?
I'm working on a short film right now that is completely a challenge and different, that is a longer project about sort of my experience. I grew up in Venezuela, and it's kind of a story about a moment when my dad was kidnapped when I was a kid. And so I'm trying to adapt my comedic style to a subject that is kind of serious and dark. And so that's the challenge that I'm in right now. And then working to try to make a film in Spanish as well, and like find production support for an animated film that's a bit longer. And so that's one of the things that I'm working on right now. And then I'm also pitching a couple series and waiting to see that are going to be funny and light and not serious, and in America. And so those are the two big projects that I'm working on at the moment. Animation somehow has, it's still going, I guess, because everyone realizes that you don't need to see anyone when you're stuck in front of your computer animating. So we've been lucky, I think, in that industry, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe everything will be animation. Cool. How about you, Ricardo? What are you going to do next?
Bueno, ahora estoy terminando de escribir mi largometraje que se llama Leonora, que va de una chica que quiere ser cineasta, y para esto va en busca de una poetisa, un libro que le regala a su mamá de niña y que la señora desapareció.
Ricardo is actually finishing his script for his first film, like long form film. And it's about this girl named Leonora. And she wants to make a film, kind of meta. She wants to make a film. And she goes in this search for this poet, who wrote a book that her mother gave to her when she was little.
Y está desaparecida, entonces tiene que irla a buscar en medio de la nada, ¿no? Ella vive en el desierto, nunca publicó otro libro y pues bueno, se enfrasca en esta aventura que al final desembocará en su película, ¿no?
And
se encontrará, perdón.
She wants to find this poet, but she's kind of a mystery because, she went to live in the middle of nowhere and has never written anything else. And nobody knows what happened to her. So in this journey about finding this poet, she kind of comes up with the idea about her film and grows.
Oh, cool. That sounds fascinating. Good luck with that. How about you, Andrea? What are you doing next?
I am going to shoot a short film in 2 weeks. And it takes place now, but it's not about the pandemic. But people will be wearing masks, and it's about a woman who, how people, if they get stressed out, they'll like grow a zit. So she grows a second nose, like right next to her other nose, and it's little. So it's sometimes she's able to cover it with the mask, and then sometimes she doesn't want to. So I'm like utilizing the mask, and it just takes place now. I had to make something where actors could be masked and people could feel safe. And and even that, like, I'm using my kids in it, you know, because I know they aren't sick. You know, I'm like using people who I feel safe around, and I'll play the woman. I mean, I didn't even want to like be the star of my next short film, but because of COVID, I'm like, well, I am. I guess I am again, which is fine. But yeah, so yeah, and when there's like, I have a scene with a mailman. Her love interest is a mailman, so that's shot outside, and they're like on picnic blankets 6 feet away. Like that's sort of baked into the story.
Yeah, that's what love looks like now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited and terrified.
Yeah, I bet. Cool. So, Dani, what are you doing next?
Well, I am in pre-production for 2 different shorts. Both of them, I'm writing them both, which is like, this is the first time I'm doing that, so I'm very excited about it. And Cool for 5 Seconds is very realistic, so I'm trying to take some more stylistic risks with these next 2 shorts. And the first one that I'm going to be doing, I'm actually going to shoot it in a empty theater, because there are so many theaters in Chicago and they are all empty. So that is kind of an interesting opportunity that's come out of this, and it's going to be 1 actor, and it's going to be a silent film, so we can have the smallest crew possible. So I'm trying to take these restrictions as a bit of opportunity. Hopefully something exciting will come out of it.
Yeah. It's gonna be so interesting to see what the whole next crop of films is gonna look like.
It'll be wild for sure.
So Szu-Wei, actually we have a question for you from the audience. Can you comment on the symbolism of the man leaving to work on the border wall and the ambiguity of his relationship with the woman?
Yeah, sure. So the man leaving to work on the border wall, because I read an article about in Texas, because they're building a wall, there are not enough workers there, so they have to hire the illegal workers from other places to Texas to help them. And I just feel like it's very ironic to me, like they help to build the wall to stop like other illegal person from coming to the country. And that's why I put this symbolism into the story. And the relationship with the woman, because I just feel like, because I stayed there for about 3 years now, and sometimes I have friends, but I don't have family there, but I will sometimes still feel lonely, and I always feel like it's so happy to have like someone to accompany you. But New York's like very exciting city, but you still feel you're like small and lonely sometimes. And also last summer, I keep listening to the radio about the debate whether to build a wall or not build a wall, and I just feel so scary. Actually, I just feel scary about the situations, and I think that's why I want to put these 2 feelings together, and yeah.
Cool. And what's your next project gonna be?
Yeah, so my next project is about a girl who who worked in a surfing shop waiting for her ex-boyfriend to return. And the typhoon comes, so they stuck in the surfing shop, and she has to deal with this relationship with her ex-boyfriend. So yeah, but the typhoon is very huge things. Like I have to wait for the typhoon comes or do some special effect about it. So I'm still working on it and hope I can finish it soon.
Is it a short or a feature?
Oh, it's a short, but I'm also working on my first feature, like throw to some like workshop lab and see if I can like keep moving on.
And is it going to be a 1-take short or no?
Oh no. Yeah, for this one actually, I don't know why this story in my mind is just 1 take, but normally I don't do 1 take. Yeah, but this story I just want to fill in 1 space, and the time she has to make all the decisions, and yeah, and also 1 take you have to write with the script, so it's very hard sometimes to figure out the structure. Yeah.
Well, thanks everyone for being a part of this. It's been lovely chatting with all of you. And yeah, we've got more programs tonight for our viewing audience if you want to come back and watch some more movies.
Thank you, Paul.
So
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you so much.